I want you to think about the last time you accidentally walked into stinging nettle. That immediate sharp sting, the red welts, the instinct to get as far away from it as possible. Now I want to tell you what that plan actually is nutritionally. Because a peer-reviewed study published in the journal Food Science and Nutrition found that dried stinging nettle leaf contains approximately 34% crude protein by dry weight. 34%. That's higher than soybeans. And a separate published study confirmed it contains all 9 essential amino acids. This is the plant you've been running from your entire life. Stinging nettle, the scientific name is Urtica dioica, is one of the oldest cultivated plants in human history. Evidence of nettle fiber being used for textiles goes back 2,700 years. In World War I and World War II, Germany used nettle fiber to make military uniforms when cotton was scarce. The plant has been used as food, medicine, fiber, and dye across Europe, Asia, and North America for centuries. Native American tribes across the Pacific Northwest, including the Makah, the Quileute, and the Clallam peoples, ate nettle leaves as a major spring vegetable. Early European settlers in America ate it. Scottish and Irish families who emigrated to the United States brought their knowledge of cooking nettles with them. Nettle soup was a staple food across Northern Europe for centuries. The sting is what makes people avoid it. And I get it, it is genuinely unpleasant. The tiny hollow hairs on the stems and leaves inject a mix of formic acid, histamine, and a few other compounds when they contact skin. But here's the thing, heat destroys the sting entirely. 30 seconds in boiling water. That's all it takes. The plant becomes completely harmless, and what's left is one of the most nutritious cooked greens available anywhere. In the Pacific Northwest, there are people who forage nettles every spring and freeze them in bulk for the whole year. They've been doing this for generations. They're not eating something dangerous. They're eating something the rest of the country just hasn't caught up to yet. Let me walk you through the actual research, because the numbers are striking. A 2016 study published in Food Science and Nutrition, a peer-reviewed journal, analyzed the nutritional composition of stinging nettle and found that dried nettle leaf contains approximately 33.8% crude protein by weight. For reference, dried soybeans, which are the gold standard for plant protein, contain about 36% protein. Dried nettle leaf is right there. The USDA data on blanched nettle greens, which is closer to how you'd actually eat it, shows about 3 to 4 grams of protein per 100-gram fresh serving, similar to other cooked leafy greens. The 34% figure applies to the dried, concentrated form. 1 tablespoon of dried nettle powder is about 7 grams of plant material, giving you roughly 2.3 grams of protein. That's meaningful nutritional supplementation from a free plant. Calcium, 481 milligrams per 100 grams of raw nettle. That's nearly half your daily recommended intake in a single 100-gram serving. Spinach has 99 milligrams. Milk has about 113 milligrams per 100 grams. Nettle has 481. Iron, 1.6 milligrams per 100 grams. Vitamin A, 2011 IU, over 40% of the daily recommended intake. Vitamin K, 498 micrograms, nearly 5 times the daily recommended intake. And magnesium, 57 milligrams per 100 grams. And yes, the published amino acid analysis confirms all 9 essential amino acids are present. Histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. All 9 in a plant that grows as a weed. So if stinging nettle is this nutritious, why did it disappear from American tables? And why are farmers actively spraying it? The answer is partly practical and partly systemic. On a practical level, stinging nettle is difficult to harvest at scale without protective equipment. When you're hand harvesting a kitchen patch with gloves, that's manageable. When you're trying to run it through commercial harvesting equipment, the sting creates real problems for workers and machinery. No large-scale food company has solved that problem in a commercially viable way. On the systemic level, nettle falls into the same category as lamb's quarters and purslane. It's a broadleaf plant that grows in disturbed soil alongside crops. Herbicide programs developed in the mid-20th century were designed to eliminate all broadleaf competition from agricultural fields, without distinguishing between plants that are nutritious and plants that aren't. Stinging nettle got lumped in. It was declared a weed, sprayed accordingly, and the cultural knowledge of eating it gradually faded. What's telling is that in countries where that herbicide culture never fully took hold, Scotland, Ireland, parts of Scandinavia, the Pacific Northwest of the United States, nettle eating never stopped. Scottish nettle soup is still made. Nettle beer is still brewed. Nettle tea is sold in health food stores across Europe. The disappearance is cultural, not nutritional. The plant didn't change. We did. Here's everything you need to know to start eating stinging nettle safely. Harvest in early spring, when a new growth is young and tender, 4 to 8 inches tall. These young shoots are the best for eating. As the plant gets taller and begins to flower, the leaves become more fibrous and develop more minerals, including silica, which makes them rougher in texture. Spring nettles are what you want. Wear gloves. Regular kitchen rubber gloves work fine, or gardening gloves. Use scissors to snip the top 2 to 4 sets of leaves from each stem. That's the most tender and nutritious part. Put them directly into a paper bag or a cloth bag. To neutralize the sting, bring a pot of water to a rolling boil. Drop the nettles in. 30 seconds to 1 minute is all it takes. The heat collapses the hollow, stinging hairs and denatures the compounds that cause the reaction. Pull them out with tongs, drain them, and from that point forward, they are completely safe to handle with bare hands. What you have now is a cooked green that tastes genuinely great. The flavor is earthy, savory, and rich. A lot of people describe it as tasting like a cross between spinach and green tea. It's very much its own flavor, and it's a good one. Use blanched nettles anywhere you'd use cooked spinach. Stir them into scrambled eggs. Add them to pasta. Make nettle soup. Sauté an onion and garlic, add broth, add the blanched nettles, blend, season. It's one of the best green soups you'll ever eat. Dry and powder them for long-term storage, same as the other plants I've covered this week. Here's where stinging nettle has an advantage over everything else I've covered this week. It's a perennial. You plant it once, and it comes back every single year, forever, from the same root system. You don't have to reseed it. You don't have to replant it. You just let it grow. Nettles prefer moist, rich soil and partial shade. They grow well at the edges of wooded areas, along streams, on the shady side of buildings, or anywhere with some consistent moisture. If you have a damp corner of a yard that's hard to grow things in, nettles will love it. To start a patch, you have 2 options. If you find wild nettles, and they grow throughout the United States, especially in the Pacific Northwest, the Northeast, and parts of the Midwest, you can transplant a small root division in spring or fall. Dig up a section of root about 6 inches deep. Keep as much of the root mass intact as possible. Replant it in your chosen spot, water it in, and leave it alone. It will establish itself. The second option is seeds. Nettle seeds are available from specialty seed companies. Sow them in spring on the surface of moist soil. They're slow to germinate, but once established, they're essentially permanent. Harvest the same patch every spring for years. A well-established nettle patch will produce more than a family can eat. Cut it back after flowering in summer, and it will often produce a second flush of tender growth in fall. Your grandchildren will still be eating from the same patch you plant this year. For videos this week, for plants, purslane, lamb's quartus, amaranth, stinging nettle, every single one of them growing wild in the United States right now, for free, with nutritional profiles that would embarrass most of what's in the produce section of a grocery store. Every single one of them classified as a weed. That's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you've watched all videos in this week, genuinely, thank you. You're the reason this channel exists. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video with someone who'd find it useful. And leave me a comment.